Welcome to Living in Beauty. It's Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, day 1493 on the road, and we're in Lake Tahoe. Leaving Steamboat Springs, under watchful aspen eyes, we packed up and drove away from the cool Columbine beauty. The temperature rose 30 degrees as we drove 125 miles south. We stopped in Gypsum on the Eagle River and spent the night at Stoneyard, a uniquely American distillery. This was a good place to organize the pantry after the huge Costco haul we made a couple of hours earlier. While passing through the Eagle Aspen area, we spotted a brand new Costco off the highway near the airport. This was the first time we'd seen a Costco in months. So we pulled in to stock up on provisions for our entertainment plans. For the next 3 days, we would be neighbors with our Airstreaming friends, Ronnie and Joe Harris at Crawford State Park. Interfacing with friends, even friends we adore, had me tethered between feelings of excitement and dread. 6 months without very much peer-to-peer contact with really anyone other than Jim and Pico made me feel a bit skittish about my conversation and entertainment skills. I'm kind of thriving on this isolation thing. Social distancing has provided a windfall of time for me to write, exercise, take pictures, and to practice my experimental style of home cooking. I've also gained a sense that, if necessary, I could travel indefinitely in semi-quarantine. Dodging microorganisms in our shiny escape pod can be as addictive as video gaming. But I can tell this ongoing pandemic has made me somewhat socially awkward. But then, maybe I've always been a bit off. Thank goodness for Jim, whose glittering charisma lights up the room. Well, not a room, not these days, but you know what I mean. So, for very different reasons, Jim and I both were in need of some normal time with friends who shared the same concerns we do about the virus and were willing to try to visit while adhering to the new rules. Speaking of this strange new world we're living in, how does beet moonshine grab ya? When we spent the night at Stoneyard Distillery, a very tall masked man with a crazy blue-eyed dog presented us with a flight of fine American beetroot liquor. And we hope our friends at Stoneyard are safe from the area wildfires this week. And hey, beetroot liquor is good. One would be negligent to turn up their nose on the humble beet. The original red velvet cake was crafted with these crimson subterranean beauties. So, bottoms up. After a great night's sleep, we set out for the beautiful village of Carbondale in the spectacular Roaring Fork Valley on the south bank of the Crystal River, where Mount Sopris reigns over all. We stopped for breakfast at the village Smithy Cafe. The lawn dining area spaced the tables about 20 feet apart. But we were not acclimated to the heat, which was in the high 90s. Still, we enjoyed the superb locally roasted coffee and the spicy hot Mexican brekkie. We walked the long way back to the truck through Carbondale and just fell in love with the sweet little town. As we drove south on Highway 133, 2 identical young bucks, twins perhaps, crossed the road about a meter in front of us, tongues dangling pitifully as they panted for a drink in the river flowing along the opposite side of the highway. We uttered a prayer of thanks that this was merely a close one, and continued our off-the-beaten-path Colorado journey into the North Fork Valley and our headquarters at Crawford State Park, elevation 6,600 feet. Our first sight of gorgeous turquoise Crawford Lake gave us some hope that we could deal with the summer 2020 heat wave that hit this region. We spotted Ronnie and Joe's Interstate as we pulled up to our campsite. I stepped out of the truck, and immediately a thick, billowy breeze pummeled me. That feeling of being beaten head to toe by a dozen hot pillows fresh from the dryer reminded me of all those summer bargain vacations we took in Palm Springs. Heat dominated everything. With the walkie-talkies, I guided Jim as he backed into the site. and shortly, Ronnie and Joe greeted us. It had been nearly 2 years since we'd last seen this wonderful couple in the Florida Keys, but within moments, the time gap closed. It's easy to relax in the company of self-reliant people who know the road, respect its mercies and dangers, share its wisdom, and draw energy from both the glories and the disasters. Ronnie and Joe are travel pros. We first met Ronnie and Joe in Asheville, North Carolina in autumn 2017. Mutual friends Debbie and Frank DeBona introduced us, and we all hit it off. Francophile Floridians from New York, with homes stateside and in Provence, Ronnie and Joe are perpetual world travelers. Their whiz-bang Airstream Interstate is their home for at least 6 months of the year. 3 years ago, Joe recruited us to the Wally Byam Airstream Club. They are also members of the European chapter of the club, which caravans throughout Europe. As former New York executives, Ronnie and Joe have formidable organization skills. 3 years ago, after a tour of their van, Jim and I saw the light. It took us about 2 years after we hit the road, but we finally downsized our gear by almost half and completely reorganized the rig. And Ronnie, who could double for Helen Mirren, is an excellent cook. Every night, her refreshing homemade limoncello made the heat much more bearable. The next day, we all embarked on a winery tour. There are 12 boutique, family-owned and operated vineyards in the Paonia, Crawford, Hotchkiss area, and all are very good. This is rustic, crunchy farm country with artisan everything from fresh local eggs to cheeses and baked goods. Homemade signs along the road urged us down narrow, unpaved drives where we could purchase fresh vegetables and fruit from hundreds of local farms and orchards. So, yeah, there was no need to stock up at Costco. Ah well, live and learn. On that first day, we went to 3 local tastings: Azura Winery, Stone Cottage Cellars, and Katori Wines. For the remaining 2 days, Ronnie and Joe took off in their rental car to see the sights, and in the evenings, we convened for happy hour, sunset viewing, and travel stories. On day 2, we observed the most impressive atmospheric display any of us had ever seen. At first, we thought a wildfire was heading straight for the campground, but the air didn't smell of smoke. But extraordinarily beautiful skies are expected in the North Fork Valley. Everywhere we went, at all times of day and night, the sky could not have been more beautiful than if we had been standing at heaven's portal. The day Ronnie and Joe said their goodbyes and pulled out, cruising up toward a cooler climate, we thought we might just follow them. But then the heat broke. Within an hour, the temperature dropped 15 to 20 degrees. We switched off the air conditioner, and for the rest of our time there, the climate was perfection. Now our only problem was limited connectivity. The worst connectivity we've experienced in the 3 years since we upgraded to the booster. Often we had to drive into town just to send a text. The Crawford Public Library, only a mile away, wasn't much help. It was only open for 2 days of the week, and the router was turned off at night. So we were reduced to begging for passwords at pubs, cafes, and wineries. Oh well, we made the best of it. Chrysalis barrel-aged beer featured the best sours we've ever tasted. We brought a homemade picnic and hung out on their deck, catching up on email and letting our family know that we are alive. Situated alongside the railroad track, we sipped beer and watched the train go by. God, I love trains. And I love sour beer. Nice pairing. Next stop was to stock up on dry beans because you never know when there'll be another lockdown or a potential quarantine. So we set out toward Delta for Big B's, a produce stand that Ronnie and Joe discovered. For the life of me, I can't find a link to this awesome roadside stand, but trust me, Big B's is right there on the highway, just outside Delta. You can't miss the painted plywood cows. After that, Endless Endeavor, a stealth winery on Pitkin Mesa, just a mile outside Paonia, has some of the best reds we've tasted since we were in Paso Robles. Endless Endeavor is an ideal place for non-RVers to stay while visiting the North Fork Valley. And they have great bandwidth. At Captain Wegner's suggestion, we stopped by Western Culture Farmstead and Creamery, just in time to watch the afternoon milking. After making our selections, we couldn't wait to get home. Old world wine and silky textured French-style cheese and rustic bread for dinner. Oh, heaven. I've heard winemakers say it takes a lot of beer to make a good wine. Captain Wagner stepped in as our concierge for the area and directed us to Paonia United Brewing Company, a local establishment in an old church building. Word has it that at one time, Paonia had the record for the most churches per capita of any municipality in North America. Whether or not that folklore is true, it's no longer the case. Now, many of the small neighborhood churches on charming tree-lined streets serve as residences, law offices, breweries, preschools, and restaurants. Paddling Crawford Lake is such a joy. Jim knows when I say, my lake, I'm talking about Crawford Reservoir. Though the seasonal pool is quite small, it's visually stunning with blue diamond water surrounded by golden hills, studded with emerald green foliage. Sadly, the 2020 spring flow was low, and the water was being drawn off at about a foot per day to sustain the farms, orchards, and ranches. When it was no longer safe to put in, we began thinking about pulling out. But there was still plenty of local stuff to keep us busy for those last 2 days, like hiking Needle Rock and viewing the rim of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. And on our final night, we went to Paonia for a scrumptious dinner at the Living Farm Cafe. And for dessert, we walked to the corner ice cream shop for a freshly made gluten-free waffle cone and the best gluten-free ice cream on the planet at Ollie's Ice Creamery. The next morning, we hooked up and headed toward Palisade for our last overnight stay in Colorado. But on the way, we stopped in Delta, the city of murals. We had a great time until something snapped in Jim's leg when he leapt off a curb. I wrapped his leg and put it on ice, and he was fairly comfortable as I drove 40 miles to Palisade. When we arrived to Sauvage Spectrum Wines, Jim was able to manage the short walk to the tasting room where he happily selected a few bottles of exquisite sparkling wine. That evening, we sat outside in the vineyard, Jim's foot elevated as we researched and strategized our medical evac situation. Next morning, at Moab Regional Hospital in Moab, Utah, Jim was diagnosed with a ruptured right Achilles tendon. After 4 hours and excellent care by the robust team of doctors and top-notch medical staff, Jim walked out with an orthopedic boot and instructions to keep it on until he sees an orthopedic surgeon within 6 weeks. So, yes, our last day in Colorado could have gone better, but we're grateful that it didn't go worse. The last time we had a major traveling injury was August '98 in Yosemite, when about a mile up Mist Falls Trail, Jim fractured his left foot. Our next stop that day, Dead Horse Point State Park, was Sweet Digs, for taking it easy, to rest, heal, and just enjoy the view, which was awesome, just like Jim. Thank you for joining us at Living in Beauty. If you like this post and want to be notified when a new one is released, please enter your email address and click the follow button at the bottom of this page. For more info, check out our travel maps and facts. Okay, that's it for now. Safe and happy travels, and see you next time.